Star Trek will not be presented tonight, so that we may bring you the following special program.
Now, a special program in living color on NBC.
And welcome back to the IWAR Renegade Tubecast. I'm your host, Matt Riley, and with me tonight, joining me, our special co-host, Jake Joyce. Jake, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm super duper. So, I went to a Red Sox game today, sat in the sun for like 4 hours. Didn't burn, but I'm still feeling like, semi-heat stroked. So, all right, so here's the deal. I'd like to know, kind of, to give the people listening a little bit of background of what was your initial introduction to the IWA?
About 20 years ago, maybe less, came across the ad in PWI. I was like 13. I sent away for it. I was involved for a very long time, but I was awful. I don't think I actually picked strats correctly. I'd pick them by move names, so I would pick for an object because I had assumed that would help me. So I was awful. I came back a few years later in 2008 and stuck around for a few cycles and left again. And now that I have disposable income as a grown man, I felt like coming back.
Okay.
And it's been like the best run I've had. Happy to be involved in the IWAR because I don't think if I was somewhere else, if I'd come into a different league, I would have probably left by now. But this is very engaging. So, and it's like what I enjoy playing as with IWA. So.
All right, and on that note, who is your roster? Who do you have as your wrestlers?
Over in IWL, I have Winston Smith Jr. and the LaCroix boys, or the boys LaCroix are mine. Okay. And then in NWL, I have the Drunks, Drunken Camper and Drunken Fisherman.
I like those guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was funny, every so often wrestlers pop into the NWL, and I always go back and use Koenig as the gold standard because he was one of the first guys that just out of the gate, the trash talk was super strong. So when I saw Winston Smith, I was like, oh, this guy's going to be good.
Oh,
so
thanks.
It's kind of cool. And it's fun to watch progression. And, I often say to people, anytime you're sending trash talk in, what is the story? What's changing?
Right.
It's just the same old, cutting a 2-minute promo or you telling a story. And every so often, these huge 1-page or 2-page promos that don't go anywhere.
Right, and that was my main concern, too, was when I got back in, I was really nervous about just rambling. Because before I hopped back in, I think I found your Tubecasts when I had first come back, and you had so many tutorials. Oh, well, no, it was very inspirational. The tutorials you mentioned don't drone on about nothing, so that was helpful, and I was always very nervous that I was just going to drone on, so yeah, I'm glad that you thought otherwise.
No, again, I think we've lucked out sometimes because you had like Aaron McFleece to play off of. And
right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was actually a great graduating class. Or I guess that wasn't really the graduating class, but that era of players.
Right.
There were so many great ones.
Yeah. And as a foreshadowing, the NWL turns 100 next cycle, so we'll have more about that later. But let's get to it. So I'll start off with the Battle Royal League. So our first IWAR League, which if, by the way, you're listening for the first time, you're like, what? The IWAR network is 4 leagues: the BRL, Battle Royal League, the Continental Wrestling League, the Independent Wrestling League, and the National Wrestling League that have banded together to provide a little more engaging, angle-based style of play. So we do a review, and this was the Battle Royal League's 500th episode. The champion was Misfit Messiah. He won $50 IWA credit, because don't forget the BRL has a credit prize. Your TV champion, Sinister Steve Stryker. Atlantic, the Deviant, Erica Rockwell. Central, Moon Warrior. Dixie, the Middle Knight, who came back. He was there, then all of a sudden he vanished, then he's back again. Eastern, Prince Tun. Get like Prince Tun as in like big fatty. He's a Bundy kind of knockoff, but he's fun. Mountain, Urban Model, Ashley Diaz. Northern, Kylo. Pacific, Chief Bold Gray Fox. Prairie, Phantom Striker. Southern, Matt's Latin girlfriend Rosa. And Western, Chosen One, Clyde Cosworth. The tag champions were Fester and Hester. The TV tag was Blood Money with Fatty the Butcher and Hot Stuff Adam Cash. 6-man retaining were Loose Cannon, Hammer, and Brutal Mitchell. And the 6-man champions were the Bayou Hazard Boys. Misfit Messiah also won the Battle Royal, and we had a slew of prizes this cycle based on various things. One of the big things was every 10th wrestler thrown out of the Battle Royal lost that many losses from their record. So if you were thrown 20th, you lost 20 losses, 30th, 30 losses. There were 72, I think, wrestlers in total. So Misfit Messiah, who already has like no losses practically anyway, is going to get to Dr. Punch them. And then there was a prize with whoever had the highest strat for a trash-talking wrestler won a 500, a wrestler with a record of 500-0. So Misfit Messiah will win that. So I know, drowning in riches. Yeah. And the Saskatchewan Sasquatch had the highest victory total, like point win. So he wins a WWE trivia game.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so he'll be getting that in the mail once I get to the post office. So BRL-wise, again, it was the 500th episode. So you had a lot of action. It was 4-for-1 matches, 4 for $1. Trash talk-wise, there's a lot going on. We've got a couple of big feuds. The Endgame brothers have feuds with Frank Snow and Sir Gunther Kinderwacht, so that's kind of going on. Let's see here. Luther Alexander went after Mike Sebastian, so I'll just kind of go off of the big pay-per-view, which was a Magic Bash 15. I'll just read the results. I won't go into all the particulars. But the results were as follows. So the Indian strap match was the Big Bad Red Fox and Chief Bold Fox defeated Cowboy Jim Spur in a handicap strap match. Money-driven Mike Sebastian defeated 5% Spanish Matt Rodriguez in a no DQ match. Phantom Striker, Tony Dime, Braddock Moon lost to Jake Scarlett, Alexei Smirnov, and Dragon de Oro. So they got to have their valet back, Oksana. Although I think she was then kidnapped again like 2 seconds later, but that's another story. It was like, what? I was the cheating issue. So Ghostly Shadows beat a guy called the Comic Book Nerd, and then
that guy sounds awesome.
Yeah, Comic Book Nerd then got a liquid poured in his mouth. His eyes rolled black, and he's now a disciple of Doom, which is a fun thing. Ghostly Shadows is awesome. Ghostly Shadows, I will say too, is the guy who runs him uses the image of the lead singer from the band Ghost, which is one of my favorite bands.
Oh, right.
And I got into them because of that, and I went to that concert last year. It was awesome.
Nice.
So,
that band's great.
Yeah, a little side accident there. Stretcher match. Sir Gunther Kinderwacht and Chris Endgame knocked each other out, so they both was ruled a draw. The Pinfalls Count Anywhere match. Canadian Nation, Jimmy North, and Gunnar Molson defeated Luther Alexander and Fatty the Butcher. And there's some heat between them, and afterwards they were shoving each other, Jimmy North and Gunnar, over who was supposed to finish the match and win. So Suplex came out and said, hey, you know what? You two are in the next Best of 7 series, so they'll be facing off for 7 matches for a shot at a championship. The Von Schnapps retained the 6-man championship over the Regulators, IWL. The first ever women's ladder match was won by Jane the Vixen Red, who defeated Ava Von Schnapp to eke out and become the first Double X champion.
Great name, by the way.
The Double X championship?
Well, yeah, that's a great name.
Yeah, I went kind of scientific with it, but that's all right. It was Double X or Double D, and I thought, let's class it up. I'm sorry, miss, you're not a Double D. You can't hold this title. Bastards! The Saskatchewan Sasquatch defeated Mad Dog Dick Jackson in DJ's retirement match. A career that spanned 30 years.
Wow.
It's crazy. Bad Company came back and defeated Noble House in a steel cage tag match. The IWAR World Tag Championship ended in a draw when the Von Schnapps and the Army both had each member of the team pinning the other, so a double pin ruled the draw. Frank Leatherman Snow defeated Hot Stuff Adam Cash in a lumberjack match with lumberjacks from the IWA eras of the past, including Lex Diamond, Tommy Challenger, Johnny Dream, Ultimate Ninja, Desperado, Brian Flamingo, and See the Body B, among others, including El Barrow. Shouldn't forget that guy. And then the IWAR World Championship Mega Match, which if you go to our Facebook page, the IWAR Network, you can read the actual write out of the match. It was Age of 26, the champion defending against Great David and 3 unknown challengers. Those challengers ended up being Blank, Black Superstar Bobby Bedlam, and Ricky Kyle. And Ricky Kyle ended up upsetting the champion to win the title. So yes, Ricky Kyle is the new IWAR World Champion.
That was I don't think I've popped harder in a wrestling-related moment than that in a very long time.
It was funny. It was how it worked kind of behind the scenes. The way the IWAR Championship's defended, the champion has 3 cycles to defend the title against somebody else. So it's a 3-cycle average versus 3-cycle average.
Okay.
And I knew Age of 26 at a 494.0, I think. And then I was doing the first one. So Blank had like a 492. Bobby Bellum had a 491. David had a 490. And I did Ricky Kyle's last, and he had a 494.7 or something like that. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, he's going to win. So I was like, oh, we're going to make this good. So Alex and I kind of booked the match, and then we literally just wrote it on the fly. I was like, I'll call Stuart Simmons, you call Jim Bossy, and we'll go from there.
That was awesome.
And people seem to like it. Now, I don't know if I do it all the time, but
Right.
you know, we'll see if it happens again in the future. So that's the IWAR Championship. And BRL TT-wise, kind of angles, we have a lot of women wrestlers coming in the league now, so it's a lot of fun that way. So that kind of is blown up as an angle. The Los Rudos are fun to watch. Disciples of Doom are fun to watch. We also have, oh man, let me see here. Misfit Messiah calling out the action. Let's see here. Shane Douglas calling action. Suburban Hell Savages are on a warpath against the Disciples of Doom. Mike Sebastian's kind of helping out with that. We have a couple of wrestlers came back. King Warman 88 and Gravedigger. Those actually were players from the past that came back to the game, and they came into the BRL. So it's kind of nice to have them. They're kind of picking fights with some old enemies. And I would just say this to people who are picking fights, if you will, with other people in the league that don't TT. Just be prepared not to have any response. Not everyone trash talks. So There's a lot of activity to the league, but not everyone trash talks, so just act accordingly. So that's kind of the BRL. I would say otherwise things going on. Autumn Anarchy 6 is our next pay-per-view that happens in October. And that might sound like that's far away. It's only like 5 cycles away. Yeah, I know, it's like counting in my head. So, just the 500th episode was fantastic, a lot of fun.
Great work on the bulletin, by the way.
Oh, thank you. We'll cover that later, but that was a lot of hours on the keyboard I won't get back.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, that was very obvious.
Yeah, that's the BRL. The CWL, we'll cover that next. So the CWL number 202, the champion is Nameless Minion of Solace. I think it's like the third or fourth Minion of Solace to win the championship. Solace played in the NWL a long time ago. He was one of the big stars, and then he left the game for a while. So he came back and he's picked up where he left off. So it's like, oh man.
Wow.
So he's a unified champion. The streaming media champion is Furious Dragon. The U.S. champion is the Cool One. And a fun little note on the Cool One, his record's 142, 284, and 27. Andy did a lot of work with that player because he was using the same strat for a long time. He would have strats like in the 300s, like just abysmal. And what was happening was his activity, which is great, was good for the league, but it was hurting us on our average strat score. So Gabriel was never going to win. So Andy wrote to him and kind of got the Attaway involved and helped him out with the strategy. So Andy's been helping him there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he's in like 3 or 4 cycles in a row with the commissioner's title on the title page. So it's kind of cool. Like, he was like going from the lowest ranked wrestler to like title page. So it's
all right. That's
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, so good for him. Thank you, Cool One.
The helpfulness that we see in the IWAR warms my heart.
We try. So the Yukon champion is the Untamed Iron Bull. The Caribbean champions, Alex Fatu. Amazon Basin champions, Goliath O'Brien. British Isles champions, Dragon Master. Arabian champion, the Red Riot. That's right, 2XW has returned to the IWA. We'll get into that in a second. South African champion, Nameless Minion of Solace, number 5. That's right, there's 5 of them. Siberian champion, Darius T. Rashad. Eastern Asian champion, Rude Duty. And Oceanic champion, Rowdy Restigini. The tag champs are Beast and Bones from the Hard Foundation. Tag champions, streaming media tag champions, Sledge and Hammer. Unified 6-man champions, Beast Bones, H-Gun. And then 6-man champions, Joshua Zelez, Isaiah Michaels, and Paul Taha. Let's see here. So the activity's been bouncing back now. Just to give you a little background picture here. The CWL has a show called Dynamite, and Dynamite is kind of a way of putting a report together that Andy makes it look like an episode of Raw, so that you're reading it and it's like you're unfolding an episode. It opens up with the opening. Thank you for coming. Here's our first match. Blah blah blah. Here's a promo. Match. Here's a promo. Match. Here's a promo. And it kind of goes back and forth. What Andy does is he actually has the players send him the trash talk, and then he takes your trash talk and then incorporates it into the episode. So that was out of whack for a while because Andy was finishing his bachelor's degree, and college is really intense. So he's out of school right now, so he's getting back and running. So yeah, that's kind of cool. The first episode is posted. You can go to the Facebook and go to the Continental Wrestling page and read all about the latest episode of Dynamite. Other things that are going on, we have the King's King tournament, which is a third annual tournament. The first one was won by Clark Pierpont, the second by Harry Hoodstar. The winners will get a prize pool determined by the number of entries. So obviously, the bigger the entries, the bigger the prize. We also have the Tandem Turmoil Gauntlet match to determine the number one contenders to the Tandem Tag Team Championships. And Forgotten Vagrant still has the Capital Championship, so the homeless guy has the money belt. Kind of funny. So the CWL, a lot going on there. 206, so 4 cycles away from the next pay-per-view, which is Continental Divide. And otherwise, trash talk-wise, like I said, it's easier probably just checking out the Facebook page, Continental Championship Wrestling, CWL. There's a lot going on, and of course, IWA Flip is in here, so you have lots of IWA artwork from Flip.
Right, that guy is fantastic.
Flip's amazing. I love Flip's work. So that's the CWL as far as what's going on there. If you're looking for a fun league to get in while it's on the upswing, the CWL is the one to go to. So, all right, that brings us to the IWL, and Jake, you're going to take it from here.
Cool, sounds good. By the way, it's pretty awesome that your name is on the front of all of these bulletins. I just noticed that.
Yeah, they sent me a thing. They're like, oh, and they did it before one time, and I was like, oh boy.
Well, you got to frame all of them now.
Yeah. So it's just like, oh man, and I just, it's one of those things like they're like all like, hey, look, you're like, you don't have to.
You're famous.
Yeah, exactly. I made it after all. All right,
okay.
so.
All right, IWL League Champion Kennedy Cage, Television Champion was the Arabian Dream Ali Atari. New York City champion was Craven Krause. Los Angeles champion was Piper the Goofball Monroe. Boston champion was Blackjack Robertson. Detroit was Handel Lynn Bidness. Shout out to Tom. Not a shout out, but a shout out.
That too.
Cleveland champion is Winston Smith Jr.
Hey.
Dallas champion is Renegade Slade Stevens. Memphis champion is Hostile Takeover. Miami champion is Victor Von Schnapp.
Yeah.
San Francisco champion is Achilles Leo. And Chicago champion is Andrew Jefferson Kaufman. Tag team champions were Hostile Takeover and Handel and Business. TV tag was Axel Von Schnapp and Alex Von Schnapp. 6-man was Strictly Business, Hostile Takeover, and Handel and Business. So they really cleaned house on their first cycle. And then TV 6-man was Perfecto Lucha, El Mas Fantastico, and Senor Incredible. I gotta be honest, I did not do very well in Spanish, so that probably sounded awful. So in regards to TT, there's a lot going on. I think IWL is a very great league to transfer to if you feel that TT is a really important part to your IWA play. And right now, one of my favorite things that's actually happening is the Monroe ordeal that's happening. Not only do we have Piper and Ulysses with their own separate trash talk discussing Marcus, but I don't know if you've noticed, but throughout the past few bulletins, there have been small trash talks that are typed up as if it's from Kim, I guess, the old-fashioned typewriter-looking font.
Yeah.
And they have had there was a trash talk where Marcus walked to his car and there was an envelope. This most recent bulletin, there was a limo driver looking for Lewis Monroe, and in this recent bulletin, there was a paper clipping from a newspaper describing an automobile accident that the family had been in. And I think it's all very ambiguous and very cryptic, and I think it's one of those nice slow builds. So good on Seth for being a great TT player. Let me see what else. Andrew Jefferson Kaufman came back, and he's now involved in Scientology, which is definitely an unexplored path in the sport of professional wrestling, imaginary or real. JJ Dallas was kidnapped by an old mentor, Brian Flanagan, so we'll see where that ends up. It was the debut of the Midnight Society, which was several wrestlers who came over from NWL and some mainstays in the IWL. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The Chaotix, and who are they feuding? The Empires of Chaos continue their feud. And then, of course, Ali Atari and Luther had a confrontation.
That's been percolating.
Yes. And Mike Mason is training with, I believe they're part of the Hart Foundation, but Senior Incredibles crew with Bonita and Lucy.
Yes.
That's pretty much it from what I've noticed, but it was a great cycle for Trash Talk. And King of the Ring, the finals are happening. I don't think I know offhand, but they're next cycle. The finals are happening for King of the Ring next cycle.
I'm not sure if the matches are coming up this cycle. I think they are.
Okay.
Nice. Because I just see cycle of Lucha.
Perfect.
Nice. All right. So that's the IWL.
Okay, and then on to the NWL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't get my bulletins in the mail for some reason, so I'm going to have to use the PDFs that Alex so graciously sent me.
The PDF, so that's a way of going green. So those players who don't know, you can have your IWA sent to you via PDF the same day the results post, and oftentimes way in advance of the actual posting on the website, like that morning. So that's an option to consider.
Okay, so this is the National Wrestling League. Cycle 99, which is crazy that next cycle is number 100. So league champion is Justin Sane, and this is the wrestler's second cycle, and he's already hit league. And TV champion is Adam Maddox. So whoever runs the TWL, the Wildlife, this guy has been on fire lately. It's insane.
Yes, yeah.
Atlantic champion was Gentleman William Worthy. Woo-hoo. Central champion was RJ Rage. Dixie champion was Fortune 500 Aaron McFleece, even though he's already transferred. Eastern champion was Veritas. Mountain champion was Joe Boring.
Yes.
Northern champion was Drunken Fisherman. Pacific champion was John King of the Bingo Hall Bennett, which might be my favorite wrestler name of the moment.
All right.
Prairie champion is Reaper, which is, I love saying that because I pull for the guy. I think he had a few rough cycles, and I think he's doing really well now. So it feels good seeing him on the title page. Southern champion was Winston Smith Jr. somehow, again, even though he's transferred. And Western champion was Too Cold Johnny Bruise, this is that guy's first cycle. He did the 10 wrestler ad, I assume, right? And he won it for the Battle Royal.
He did, yeah.
That's pretty awesome. For tag team champions, the Hart Foundation, Meatball, and Squash retained, and they won 5 free matches. TV champs, Master of Disaster, and Bombshell Warrior, who have just tied up Adam Maddox and Cole Adams for the number 1 contendership to the National Tag Team Championships. 6-man champions are Master of Disaster, Bombshell Warrior, and Joe Boring, which is a very interesting crew right
trio.
Yeah. And TV 6-man, Cole Adams, Adam Maddox, and Justin Sane, wrapping it up again with another one of great cycles for that player. So with NWLTT, this was a nice cycle. I feel like the league's a little bit empty right now, but it's going to pick up again with the current deal that the IWA is offering that you'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But it's good to see that it's not as empty. I think the first time a bunch of wrestlers had graduated a few months ago when we lost players like Seth and Derek and Owen, the TT was kind of lacking, but it's good to see that there are enough players now that continue while the other players move on and we refresh the roster. So
it's definitely one of those things about the league, especially with the graduation policy, is that you have a dip, and it's amazing that we lost Ghostly Shadows, Jimmy North, Zach James, Neo Dragon, a few others,
right?
And we're like, oh man. Then we get like the blanks, we get McFleece, we get Winston. It's like, oh man, all right, nice. And then it's like, so it's kind of a roller coaster at times, but I think we're on the way up again. So
I think so too. In regards to the TT, I thought Ricky Kyle had one of the best trash talks that I've seen, if not his best trash talk. It was very well thought out. He had talked about the championships he had won. He threw the nonconformist belt into a lake. It was really well thought out, and also he's the IWAR champion, so that's fantastic and awesome that the NWL rookie brought it home. I liked what Chansan had this cycle. He mimicked a Reddit Ask Me Anything thread. I thought that was pretty original. Yeah. And he was the Rumble in the Bronx winner, so that was pretty great. Another newer player that has done very well in the past few cycles. Vic Villain is graduating, and there is drama. Yeah, I was confused by that. He's been here longer than my players have, or my characters have. So the drunken camper and fisherman are having drama together, very soap opera-y. We'll see where that goes. And William Worthy, he had a promo, and I usually don't laugh out loud at NWL or IWA stuff, but he tore Lord Drama a new one, and it entertained me to no end. It left me in stitches. And by the way, Lord Drama just picked up the national championship. So,
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He beat a departing Black Belt Jones by, I think, 1 point.
Black Belt Jones was quite a champion. He was there for a while.
Yeah, that was definitely a marathon.
Nice.
A mystery wrestler threatens Art Deco. Veritas is a new wrestler who just came through. Chris Hero wants a league title shot. Typical NWL stuff. It was a very good segment for trash talk, though. It's definitely the players there now are definitely keeping a placeholder for when more come in, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, and we talked before the show about some of the things we're going to unroll or reveal this coming cycle as far as getting more player involvement. So I hopefully, kind of the plan is that we'll give them really big chunks of meals to choose from as far as what they can do in the NWL.
That's right. So the next NWL pay-per-view, the next NWL pay-per-view coming up is going to be NWL Conflict. What's going to happen is Art Deco and Luther, they're going to take to the IWAR Facebook page, and they're going to draft a team of two, Team Deco and Team Luther, and the teams are going to face each other. We're going to add up points to see which team had the higher point flow after the event, and it's for the largest wager in IWA history.
Whoa.
The draft will take place in Cycle 102, and the event is going to be Cycle 103. But that's NWL Conflict. And
Okay.
that should be fun.
Nice. So that's NWL Roundup?
Yes.
All right. And what we'll do is we'll talk about all the events and functions and challenges coming up when we get them all hammered out. But that's a teaser. So other things going on. So IWAR wide, the Murano update. So the Murano finals are set. Took a little bit of work because the IWA missed a match, so I had to kind of do a little numbers work. But the Patriot and Alpha Male XD defeated Graham Underwood and Kennedy Cage by 1 point.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like 510 to 509. And then Age of 26 and Punk Rock Mike, they had a rematch against Bad Company because they drew the last round for the finals of the BRL. So they defeated the Bad Company by 3 points, I think. And then they went on to defeat Sledge and Hammer from the CWL. So it'll be Age of 26 and Punk Rock Mike, the Suburban Hill Savages, taking on the Patriot and Alpha Male XD, who are actually in the ASL.
Right, I was going to say that.
Yeah, they were in the NWL for a while, and then they transferred out, and they went to ASL, and they've been doing very well there. So I had a feeling they might be in the finals because they had the TV tag titles there, and I was like, ooh, that's a good sign for them.
Right.
And, the prizes are pretty damn good. So the way it's going to work is the 4 top finalists all get a portion of the prizes. So that'll be in the next... What? I thought I heard a voice. Was that a real voice, or was it...
A ghost in the house.
So that's the update on that. With Johnny B. Cup and a stunner, Jane the Vixen Red defeated Sir Gunter Kinderwacht,
Wow.
her old enemy. Jane Red's on a roll. She won the Unknown Wrestler League. She won the Double X Championship, and she's now in the finals of the Johnny B. Cup, where she will face the man, Nasty Norman Krasner, who defeated Ricky Kyle by 1 point, 493-494. So by 1 point, he advances. So it's Jane the Vixen Red versus Nasty Norman Krasner. It's kind of cool. That's a nice event, and it's funny. It's Sir Gunter had a chance to repeat as champion too, so he missed out. And what's going to happen is the winner of the Johnny B. Cup will become one of the first ones to get a shot at the Renegade Championship, which we'll talk about in a second.
Cool.
What's the Renegade Championship, you might ask? Well, the kind of background of this is that we have a new process for determining the IWAR Championship, which is the top average of the Commissioner Championships. So the Global, the Continental, the Heavyweight, and the National. Of those 4, whoever has the highest 3-cycle average gets to challenge the IWAR champion next. And then it's a 3-cycle process. So essentially, it's a rolling process, so that way you always have a new challenger. And what we do is you want the same challenger twice, and it puts more emphasis on the actual match, so it's like a little bit of struggle as opposed to just a one-shot deal.
Right.
The problem we run into, though, is that all these events, with the King of King, the Four Corners, Rumble, all these different things had these title shots, so we were running into a problem where now we're going to have this overflow of like multi-man 4- and 5-person matches. And we didn't want to do that. So what we're going to do is we created a secondary championship. Alex was like, make a secondary championship. I'm like, oh, okay. So we put it to a vote, and the fans vote nominated Revolution as a championship. So Revolution Championship. And the way we're going to determine it, the first Revolution champion will be the winner of the 3rd annual IWAR ladder match battle royal. And what we do with that is we take your 3-cycle average, and whoever has the highest 3-cycle average, bang, they're the winner. It's $1 per wrestler. It's a very simple process. There's no matches to worry about. I use the IWA strats. They send them to me. I do all the math. We figure it out, and bang. And what happens is the top 2 people will split the kitty. So if you have 50 people in it, that's $25 in IWA credit each.
Wow.
It's kind of nice. So the more people enter, bigger the prize. And the overall higher strategy will win. So that's the IWAR ladder match battle royal. Now that's coming up in 2 cycles. So I've been putting that presser up for that. We also have the 5th annual Bound for Glory. Now this one's doing a little bit different. Traditionally, 5th annual Bound for Glory series is going to be done different. You won't be signing up. It's going to take the top 8 wrestlers in each of the IWAR leagues and run the tournament. So it's sort of like a World Cup where you have pools and they go head-to-head 3 cycles. The points scored determines the top 16 finishers. They advance to a 16-person elimination tournament, and that winner will get a shot at the Renegade Championship. The 8th annual Triple D Cup is coming up at the 6-man championship tournament, and the winner gets a shot at the IWAR World 6-man Championships. Which, side note, we need to come up with more ways of determining challengers, because right now the Von Schnapps have had the belts since January, and they just had their first defense. And they have, the next one will be the Triple D Cup winners. So just throwing it out there, commissioners, come up with something. The 10th annual Tag Team Derby. This is like Bound for Glory in the same setup as far as the process of play, but you can join up and just spend the money to join up. So we'll be getting that underway. And one we're working with, kind of a foreshadowing, is an open challenge approach. So we might do with the Revolution Championship is pick a cycle and have the champion say, okay, I'm going to go to this league and do an open challenge. And then anyone in that league can challenge the champion that cycle. And what they do is they just declare that in the trash talk, and then we just take the strategy values from the IWA and we figure out if anybody wins it. So we might actually establish a champion's advantage to kind of keep that kind of process alive. We'll see, but a lot of fun things in the works as far as that goes.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So that's the events coming up that are IWA-wide. Okay, so some of you may have had a chance to see an email from IWA with an offer, the former player offer, which is a 1-page PDF. And the way this started a few years ago, when Bob Rogers was still playing, he and I kind of came up with this idea. And I went to IWA and I was like, hey, how about I put together a flyer? You mail it to former players because you have so many email and mail addresses. Send it out, and then if players want to come back, they get to try the game for a special price. And it kind of was, they were up for it, but then it kind of just, I sent them an idea, and they're like, So it kind of went back and forth. So I brought it back up into play last summer, and they were like, okay, that's not a bad idea. If you want to design it up, we'll kind of go back and forth. So we kind of went back and forth on different ideas. So when I realized the BRL 500 was coming along, and I started work on that, and it was going to be this massive, massive undertaking, I was like, all right, you know what? I think if we have this break, if you will, or break out the same day or week that the BRL 500 is there, it's a chance for players to kind of see the nostalgia of the game and, kind of reconnect. So the way it works is you get a chance for a former player, you can rejoin the game, and some players, it's like, get back into NWL. It's I can't express how much of a different experience it is playing the NWL versus traditional. The way it used to be for rookie leagues was the IWA waited until they got about 10 players or so, 15 players, opened a league. And that league opened up, and it was a year of them playing, and then after a year, they opened it to veterans, and then it was just free reign, whoever was going in there. So now we have a 17-cycle process. Obviously, if you go to this, you know how it works.
Right.
So we basically broke it down with that. We also highlighted the IWAR leagues, and then we highlighted the LWL, and a couple other things like the BRL 500th. We talked about other leagues to choose from out there, like throwback leagues, women's leagues, unknown wrestler league, other things like that. And then, the deal is you get 3 cycles at half price. So that's a pretty good deal. Now,
is the UWL coming back anytime soon?
Usually it has a few cycles off, and they bring it back. It's like about almost like a year they do it, and then they bring it back. It's very popular, so people.
Yeah, that's a great league.
And if you don't know what the UWL is, do you want to talk about what that is?
I wasn't actually involved with it, so I'm probably going to get a lot of things wrong. But
Nice.
initially, yeah. So I'll air some fake news for you. The UWL, you enter with you use one of your currently active wrestlers, correct? Or do you create a new one? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, you connect your wrestlers to one of your current wrestlers.
Right, and so your wrestler is unknown, and the name is unknown wrestler number, whatever your number is given. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And, if I recall correctly, feuds can start because you choose to eliminate. If you win league, you can eliminate any wrestler of your choosing.
Right.
And you can start feuds because you might eliminate someone's wrestler, and they might have 2 wrestlers or 3 wrestlers in the league.
Right.
And then when they become league champion, they'll just eliminate you in the end. So it seems pretty interesting. That's pretty much what I've picked up from it.
Yeah, you vote them off the island, so to speak. And
Right.
What's nice is that when you are eliminated, they reveal who the identity of the wrestler was, and you take your winnings, earnings, etc., with you to your wrestler. So it's a way to like bump up your numbers for your wrestler. And for those of us that keep track of records, it's why sometimes you'd be like, why the hell did wrestler X suddenly get 6 more stars and so much more money? And it's like, whoa, that's weird.
Right.
That's why. And it's a nice way actually if you want to pad your record, to go in there and compete, and the last winner gets a belt, and was the last champion in the series. This past time was Jane the Vixen Red.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. That's right.
So very good time. She's on a roll, man. So just to get back to the point, that this promo went out, and I contacted them Wednesday morning, and at 10 in the morning, the day after it revealed, there were 7 new players. So I haven't heard the latest numbers after that, but it's a start. And like anything else, we're going to try to actually soup up the NWL to be really loaded for this coming cycle, so players will really be able to enjoy it.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, so that's that offer. And if you're out there and you're like, oh, I have a friend who used to play with, feel free to forward that over to them. We posted it on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's out there, so don't be afraid to share it and get some friends involved. I sent a message to Alex. I'm like, I came out. I posted my IWA playing on my main Facebook page. so I put a post, and like people were like, and some friends alerted me. One guy was like, "Oh my God, I think I played that in 8th grade." I'm like, "Yeah, man, that's what it was." Like, that's still around.
I've thought about bringing it up to wrestling friends of mine because I think they'll know what it is, but I'm also kind of nervous to have that discussion as to what IWA actually is.
Yeah, well, I will say the cool thing was I tweeted out the message, and I tagged like Daniel Bryan, Shane Helms, Matt Hardy. They all know the players.
Right.
And Shane Helms retweeted it. So I was like,
really?
Nice.
That's cool.
So I was kind of like, hey,
he was the poster boy for the IWA for a while. I think a lot of their advertisements had formerly played by WWF superstar Shane Helms.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. It's a game that stood the test of time because of the players. So
right.
Speaking of which, before we go to Q&A, if you caught this issue of the BRL, or you went to the IWA page and read the IWAR report magazine, you may have noticed that there was this mammoth tribute to the BRL. And it is about a year ago when I realized the BRL was going to hit 500. I started putting together some reports and issues and pictures and images. So what we have is a 22-page tribute to the BRL. If you go to the IWA homepage right now and look at the IWA Ringside magazine, you'll see the cover. Actually, you see a picture of Johnny B himself.
That was actually a pretty eye-opening picture, because when I was a kid, Johnny B in my head was Johnny Ramone. He had the long black hair and like the sunglasses.
Okay.
So seeing the actual Johnny B, I was like, wow, that's not at all what I pictured this guy to look like.
Yeah, and just, if you're looking by the pictures, the next picture over is Raven Black the Indian on the cover. The IWA for a while had these envelopes made up that were like wrestlers in the game. So like one had Raven Black the Indian, one had Tiger Man, who was like a PPL wrestler who was real popular. There's a third or fourth guy. I never got them, so I never saw them. Right. But it kind of follows the progression of the game and some of the stars.
Yeah. You did a very good job. It's great.
Thanks, man. Well,
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say this. I wanted to kind of combine, because at first I was like, oh man, 22 pages, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was great.
And I was like, all right, listen, Kim, this is going to be big. And she's like, it's okay. And I'm like, no, like more than 28 pages big. She's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, okay.
Well, she got lucky that they were going green recently, so I'm pretty sure half those bulletins they had to print didn't get printed anymore.
Yeah. So if you go through, if you can see all kinds of records, and I kind of did on the left side of the column is kind of a month-to-month or important incidents happening, history, pictures of the wrestlers, of the artwork, images people used, other notable events. Then I have kind of a record of events won in the BRL, because it's a BRL history, so like Wrestler of the Year, Tag Team, awards, event winners, just a whole ton of stuff. If you like history, the IWA sent me 2 stories. I used one of them. The first one's the IWA Trivia Time, which is kind of about Johnny B himself. The second story is about a time a player went to visit the IWA offices, and it's
great.
It's not a bad story, but it's really disjointed, so it's like it runs all over the place. So I was like, I'm not going to print it. I'm going to save it for another issue as a surprise.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
But it's a very unusual story, and
which is what I would hope for with a IWA office.
Yeah. So, anyways, that was that issue. So that's that there, and I'm actually going to try to talk IWA into posting that permanently on the bottom of their main page, because it's a great way to former players can pop in and check out a cool history of the game.
Right.
So just a something to think about. But that's that. So Q&A time. You ready for some questions and answers? Get ready for some Q&A from players? Let me find the Q&A here. Okay. I gotta find it now. I always think to do this, and I always forget until the last minute. Like, oh yeah, post Q&A. Players can ask questions. Here it is. Okay. So, question 1. How badass is the TMS?
I mean, I think I'm biased when I say I think it's pretty badass, but...
What is the TMS for those listening that don't know?
It's the new stable. The Midnight Society consists of a few members of the IWL community, if you could even call it a community. The IWL League. Okay. It's JJ Dallas, TJ Relic, the Boys LaCroix, Winston Smith Jr., Eric McFleece, the Bidness Brothers, and Hostile Takeover.
Good God.
Yeah, I know it's big. It's pretty much already jumped the shark, but I'm hoping we get a few good cycles out of it. It's the new sensation of the IWAR.
All right, there it is.
The fever is spreading.
Well, if you have a severe case, see your doctor. Question 2. There is some degree of speculation in some circles that you, meaning me, and the manager of Joe Boring. With that in mind, are you indeed Joe Boring's manager? Joe Boring is an awesome character. Now, those who don't know, Joe Boring's promos, he comes out and the fans are chanting Boring because he's terrible. And he's like, thank you for support. And he's always doing these goofy promos where he just talks about wrestlers and he's so boring with the words he uses. It's just awful, but it's hysterical because it's so bad. And I wish I could take credit for it, but Joe Boring is not mine. He's actually
really.
Yeah, he's not.
Wow. I thought it was you this entire time, to be honest.
I will reveal that I did manage Billy Jack Novak, the rapping wrestler who used to rap about the wrestlers.
See, and I didn't pin you for that one, but that makes so much sense. Because you hated him on the Tubecast. You did not like him very much.
Oh, it was funny because what it is I had the Teamster a long time ago, and the reason Alex and anyone else who wants to be a commissioner in the NBL or help our commissioner's team, you have to have a wrestler to get a bulletin. It's just how it works. Now, that might have changed now that we can get the electronic versions. Maybe it will, I don't know. But the idea was always that to use our guys as kind of, pot stirrers, extra guys to kind of help out with, keeping feuds going, keeping players active. The Teamster was super hated when I had him because he was a goofy asshole. He was always like, the Teamster Challenge was what we used, and what it was you had to team up with him, win a tag title. So every time someone lost or didn't win the belts, I just reamed him out. I was like, you're terrible, you're a shitty wrestler, you're the reason we lost. I was like, what? So people hated on him, and it was fantastic. And at the same time, he's like, the fans love me. It was always, and if he lost a match, it was never his fault. He was an ass. Well, I made Billy Jack Novak originally was going to be like this hardcore country wrestler, and for whatever reason, just PN News came up one night with Alex and I, and that was all I needed to happen. So I made him a rapping wrestler.
The name Billy Jack Novak wasn't really the rapper doesn't really jump out at me when I hear that name. So I guess that makes sense that he would have been a country guy.
Right.
Initially.
Yeah. So yeah, that was, and of course there's tons of images. So I used him as a pot stirrer. But what I found with Billy Jack Novak, he was so comical that people didn't take him seriously. So you kind of need that balance of like, being a legit threat. And what happens too is the way we do our strategies, at least I know for my sake, I try to shoot for like mid to low 490s. So he's competitive, but not going to be in the title page. Because what happened with Teamster was, and it's just how it worked out, I always gave him my last strategy, and he won the league title once with a 495.
That sounds like same as it ever was with every single thing that I've done with IWAs, that my last strat that I think is not going to be worth anything is the one that does the job for me. Right.
And it's one of those things that I was like, man. So now what I do is I actually, the back end of his holds, I give him the 45s. I want to be competitive. I give him both 45s, but instead of 43s, I give him both 41s.
Oh, interesting.
So that way he has a chance to like hit like a high end in the back, but not perfect.
Right.
And I don't want him to be perfect. So that's what I do. So anyway, Billy Jack Novak served his time. We let him go.
Yeah, and actually he was one of Winston Smith Jr.'s first feuds, or seconds, or one of them. So yeah, he definitely served well. And I think we've pretty much narrowed down that Derek Sharp is Joe Boring, if we can put that out there.
He could be. But Joe Boring's a phenomenal character.
I'm just hoping Derek hears that, because he's very adamant that it's not him.
Oh, I'll protest too much. All right. So the last question is from Kyle Queen, and he says, "I'm still 7 cycles away from having to transfer from the NWL, but I think it would be cool if at some time you address what IWAR leagues would be a good progression, as in said league is a little tougher than NWL, next league is even tougher, then League 3 is the big IWAR league." So on that note, I would say that level of toughness, it would go toughest is BRL, then IWL, then CWL. And it's like almost neck and neck BRL, IWL, though. They're both very tough.
Really? You would put them on the same pedestal? That's
just about. I mean, it's a thing where the BRL might have more, what I'd say, seasoned veterans.
Right.
But the IWL just has some really good players. Like, Seth's been banging it out with his,
Yes, he's been incredible.
Yeah, he's like, right, and that's the thing. Yeah.
Oh, you get a pretty credit prize. Yes.
Right. So you get a lot of players in there who otherwise wouldn't be in there. Like, if there was no BRL credit, I'm sure we'd lose about 5 guys. I can think top of my head. And that's fine, But I would say that, as far as ranks, if I was an individual player, if you want to win a little easier to make an appearance on the title page, I'd go CWL for now. Not saying the CWL is easy by any stretch. You have Andy in there and some other, like Frank Snow's in there. I'm in there, but not that I've been shit in the bed this year. Overall,
that's right. Yeah, there was an advertisement for the ASL and NWL this past cycle.
Yes.
So I don't know where I was going with that, but I thought I should put that out there.
Well, no, that's a good point. Frank actually reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you mind if I put an ad in for the ASL?" So Frank is the commissioner of the ASL. And the ASL is a burgeoning, growing league. It's on its way back up, so it's a good place to be. And again, your level of competition, it's a double-edged sword, because I want to say to people, well, you want to go to a league that's competitive, but if you don't make a title, it can be frustrating. Like, I'll give you an example, like Mike Sebastian in the BRL. He's been really great this year. He hasn't had a title yet, and it's 8 cycles in. That's how tough it is. Like, I had a cycle with a 46, got nothing. Like, what?
Yeah, BRL scares the shit out of me, if I can be honest. I don't know if I would ever feel confident going there with my playing, but I'm also more of a TT player, I guess. So I guess I think the IWL is great for trash talk. And I think if you wanted to make a jump, if IWL is tough, it's worth it, because I think there are so many great trash talk players.
Right. It's a good league to be in as far as, obviously there's the BRL. BRL has stable initials, and the IWL is not. So it's one of those things that it's a small thing, but some players, are all about their stable initials. So.
Right.
So, anyways, that's the ranking of that. And I would also throw this bone out there. If somebody were to create a limited roster league like the LWL, let's say like a 2 wrestler per league, and it was in the gold, I would say your chances of being part of the IWAR pretty damn good. Just throwing that out there. Although I'm actually talking to somebody right now about a league that might create one of those leagues.
Really, that's awesome. That's a great addition.
It would be. And the thing is, we used to have at one point, there was 8 leagues, almost actually 9 at one point in the IWAR. It was just too unruly, and it was hard to focus. And we were like, let's just cut it down to like the top, our primary leagues, work from there, and not worry about having, like this whole entire fed, which wasn't really our goal anyways. I would love to see more IWAR type leagues, if you want to call it like networking and working together. But it takes a lot of players involved, and there's personalities. And we had a thing earlier on the network page talking about women's wrestlers on a roster and commissioner leagues. And I've said, I'll say it again, if you want to be a commissioner in a league, that's cool, but it takes a lot of work. You got to put a lot of work in as far as time. So think about your commitment, how much of a report you want to have. You don't need to have a 10-page report. You really don't.
Right.
You do 1, 2, 1 page, really do it right. So just
short and
think about
sweet.
Right, like get it in there, bang it out. And like I use the bureau process I really like. It's fair, it's determined by the players, it has titles or commissioner titles for all levels of play. It's fair, and I think it's a big part of it. I think just making sure players understand the process and they can follow it. So that's our question. So Jake, now that you've had a chance to be the co-host for tonight, how do you feel?
Oh, I feel great. Happy to be here.
Right here in Saugus, Massachusetts. Which, by the way, just so people know, you may have noticed the IWAR Network Facebook page was given a hometown, and it's because I kept getting this stupid pop-up every time I opened the page. It was like, "Where's your hometown of the IWAR? Establish it now." I tried to do parts unknown. It wouldn't let me. I was bullshit, and I was like, "Fine, Willowick, Ohio. Suck on that."
Lovely
Willowick, Ohio. So anyways, that's there. So I want to thank Jake for stepping in to co-host tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This episode. Did a great job. So thank you all for playing in the IWAR and playing in the IWA. As always, go to the IWAR Network Facebook page. We now have, I think, 90-something members. I think we're 94. So we're almost at 100. And if I had some kind of worthy prize, I'd be like, if we get to 100, we'll give a special prize. But I'm not going to do that. So screw you guys. I want to thank everyone from the IWA for their work put in. I know they listen to these sometimes, so that's always fun. Get a random message. You talked about this. What? Oops. So anyways, we thank all of our listeners. And as always,